Good day all. It is Self-Preservation Society. I'm Basil, broadcasting Truth and Therapy. Here I am using the talking stick. And if you're listening to me anywhere other than my main BitChute channel, there's a link to it in the description box below. There's also a link to my MeWe profile, my MeWe page, my email and my Facebook group. Should you wish to have a look if you're on any of those platforms, or contact me. It seems that I'm doing an upload more or less every day. I make no apologies for that. I don't do it to bore you. I do it to empower, enlighten and enable you. And I will not stop because I care and I love. Just like some of those people I've been seeing that are trying to deal with the aftermath of the hurricane. I listened to a bloke today, an ordinary bloke, a truck driver, not one of your gurus, you know, those that you put on a platform and Lord, oh, you're wonderful, you know, I've been following you for years. Not one of those, just an ordinary Joe Bloggs, a truck driver. And he was saying about how 51 lorries had come together and were taking stuff to help in the aftermath of the hurricane. And they were travelling for miles, and they got to a point where they had to stop and put fuel up, this, that and the other, and no doubt they'd done that, had something to eat, you know, shit shaving, a shampoo and whatever, had something to eat. And when they come out to their trucks, all the tyres on all 51 trucks were slashed. Only those in that convoy going to help people. Other truckers doing other business wasn't touched. Just the 51 lorries and all their tyres in that convoy. I've seen so much other stuff. And, you know, you've got to be really cold, uncaring, and ignorant or in fear not to empathise with what's going on in the world around us. The title of this upload, I've just about got it on: Human Beings and Spirit, No Hope. Mankind and Soul Consciousness, Soul Conscious Awareness. We can do this, and we can. I said to you recently, in a recent upload, where doing my ablutions in the morning, at the end of the corridor, the landing, I see a shaft of light. Then I come downstairs, cup of tea and a fag, standing outside, because I don't smoke indoors. I see loads of shafts of light. Shelley's just said to me today she was sitting eating her dinner and she's looking out of her window of her attic flat at the clouds, this, that and the other, and she see lights and whatever, which really empowered me. She said to me the other day, perhaps those shafts of light that you see was, you know, because I'm doing so many uploads, was, you know, to inspire you, this, that, and she may well have a point. Because to use a term that is often misused, and it is often misused, I am a medium. I am a point between 2 points. But I don't just talk to those that are disincarnate in the spirit world. I am, as Tesla said, and I say this with all humility, please don't think I'm being egotistical or whatever. I'm sharing a message. I don't want you to follow me or any of that bullshit or buy me cups, DVD, T-shirts, this, that, and the other. Or, you know, I'm not selling you anything. I don't want you to pay for anything. I want you to pay attention. But as Tesla said, I am but a receiver for all that was, is, and will be. And in the natural scheme of things, what we should do is just pass that on. That's what I do. That's what sets me apart from just about every medium I've ever come across, certainly in the last 8 years, since I come back into spiritualism, call themselves spiritual mediums, using spiritual gifts. They're not gifts if you've got to pay for them. They're only gifts if you give them away, which is what I do here. And anybody that tells you any different is either blind, arrogant, or ignorant, or really well informed and knows exactly what they're doing and harvesting your energy, frequency, and vibration, whether it be money, material, ego, emotional, whatever. By their deeds you will know them. And I've spoke a bit recently about mediums of the past and, and whatever. And I'm not looking back through rose-coloured spectacles, but you go back far enough, especially when physical mediumship was in abundance and ascendancy, where the medium would allow theirself to be used so you could actually talk to your loved ones that have gone before and hear their voice, their mannerisms, their characteristics, this, that, and the other, right? That's fucking amazing. How many people are doing that today? I know one bloke down in Eastbourne who's senior position in spiritual circles, whatever. He'd teach you trance mediumship, but he will not allow you to bring that personality through. It's got to be your voice, this, that, and the other. Fucking come and try that with me. Try that with me. And people fall for that bullshit and that crap. And this particular person has, so he told me, the entire library of the Leslie Flint recordings. Look up Leslie Flint. He was a direct voice medium, an independent direct voice medium. What that means is he developed his mediumship to such an extent that it wasn't just direct voice, him sitting there and you heard these different personalities come through. He had independent direct voice, so he didn't have to go into trance at the end. He sat there with you, the sitter, while the independent direct voice went on, and you could hear these other personalities speaking in the room. Didn't always see them, but you heard their voices, right? It amazes me. It amazes me how this thing that known as spiritualism that I owe so much to, from seeing Christine Quenker for the first time 40 years ago last month, to walking in to my first spiritualist church 40 years ago next month, I'm sure it was November, and the first medium I ever see was a man called, in the spiritualist church, was a man called Roger Willicombe. For my money, the finest male medium in Kent, without a shadow of a doubt. He's retired now, occasionally comes and does a church service, but what evidence that man used to bring out, and what inspired addresses, just like Lorna Codlin, who, for my money, she's retired and all, and both of them come from the Isle of Sheppey, was the finest medium in Kent, finest female medium in Kent. When she done an inspired address, it was something to behold, because philosophy and teachings were, and I hate to use this word, but I will use it, being channeled through her. Nobody, I've never met anybody, apart from maybe Ray Williams, founder of the Christian Spiritual Society down in Cardiff, that have done an address like Lorna. Ray done one at my church once back in the 80s in trance, and a French bloke spoke. You know, broken English, but he spoke instead of Ray. Since then, certainly since 2016, I've only met, well, I've met a few mediums that have sort of, you know, impressed me, but as far as evidence goes, and fuck me, did she give me some evidence, first time I ever see it, Barbara Almond. If you look on my BitChute channel, go back far enough, you see that I done an interview with her, a conversation rather. We had a conversation. Go and have a listen. You'll find her on Facebook, Barbara Almond, and if you go to her, say Baz from Dover sent you. If that's your thing. You know, me and Barbara have our differences over things and whatever, but I cannot deny the evidence that I received from her, way beyond most people's pay grade, because most of them are just talking about Nan and Grandad and the smell of cakes and fuck knows what else. People swallow all that bullshit because they don't think there's anything else. You know, Hive Church, which is where I first saw Barbara, they've got one of the greatest libraries I've seen in a spiritualist church, with a possible exception of one up in Norfolk. Can't think of the name of it. People don't take the books out. I donated a load of books there because I was so impressed with the library and whatever. And those books, they go back, most of those books go back many, many, many years. And in them you'll find evidence of outstanding evidential mediumship with the likes of Helen Duncan, who I spoke of recently. And people like Jack Webber and Alec Douglas Home and so many of these physical mediums in the past. They don't do it anymore. You know, you don't see it. I said, if anybody's interested and they're in Kent in physical mediumship, then contact me. And I'm quite prepared to start a new circle. But don't come to me if all you want to do is learn about it so you can make money, because I'll tell you what I told Paul Jenkins back in the 80s. A bloke called Paul Jenkins, I'm told he moved to Australia. He joined the church sometime after me. And I'll never forget two things about Paul Jenkins. Fred and Pat Clayton were working there once. Fred used to do psychic drawings weeks before. Sit there at home, do psychic drawings, and then wherever he knew, before he went to a church any given Sunday, he'd sit with these drawings, pick them out, and he knew that they were for that particular church. And he might have done them weeks before. I had some pictures of him, psychic drawings of him, brilliant. And they were working there one day, they finished, and you know, the medium would be served a cup of tea and whatever, biscuits. And Paul Jenkins took him up to Fred And I just happened to be there. And this Paul Jenkins said to Fred had been doing this for years and years and years and years, him and his wife. Said to Fred, how far do you think you are up the ladder? And Fred said, what? He said, how far up the ladder do you think you are? Meaning the ladder of spiritual ascendancy, this, that and the other. Fred said, Fred went to answer him, and Paul, who'd only been coming to the church for a few months at most at that point, said to Fred, without giving Fred a chance to answer, he said, I reckon I'm about halfway up. And Fred just looked at him, because he was sitting down and Paul was standing up. He just looked up at him and he said, I've never even seen the first rung, mate. And that was lost on Paul. Completely and utterly lost on him. The first circle I ever had in my house, I never run it. The president of the church ran it, Jim Wright, and a few committee members come up, this, that and the other. And we used to sit every week. And Paul got to hear about this. And he said, he went and spoke to Jim. Asked if he could come and sit on the circle. Jim said, it's not my circle. He said, I'll just run it. You'll have to ask Barry. It's his house. So Paul come to me. Back in the 80s this was, remember? And he said, Jim said to come and have a word with you. Is there any chance I can sit on your circle? And I said, why do you want to sit on the circle? And this is the exact words he said to me, people. I'm not bullshitting you. He said, so I can be rich and famous and earn lots of money. And I just looked at him in the same way Fred looked at him, I suppose, and said, can't help you, mate. Can't help you. And that's what most people develop their psychic abilities for. So they can be rich and famous and earn lots of money. They don't, when you work for spirit, and they succeed, because when you work for spirit, spirit will provide all of your wants. And they do. Spirit is false. That's where demons are in the spiritual realms and everything that demonic represents. And I didn't know this 40 years ago, but looking back, I can see how I've been guided, this, that, and the other. Because I've never prostituted my spiritual awareness and anything like that in order to make money. The universe, as I've said many times on this platform, has always provided all of the needs, all of my needs and the needs of my ex-wife and children when I was married, and whatever. We had roof over our head, clothes on our back, and food in our belly. And that's all you need. So-called spiritual people are so busy chasing a living. I've just seen an advert from, it's gone now, where two local mediums to me were working in a village hall charging £8 a fucking ticket. £8 a ticket to go and see them. So you could hear about your nan and the smell of cakes, this, that and other. Those sort of people won't inspire, enlighten and enable you in the way that I do here. They're not mediums. Well, they are. They're spiritual mediums. Spiritual mediums, that's all they are. They can't go beyond the spirit. They don't want to go beyond the spirit because the spirit provides them with money and fame and adulation and boost their ego and all that bollocks. By their deeds you will know them. Stop listening to these people. Jean Williams over in Ramsgate. You go to her for a reading, £15. And she's only recently put it up from £12. I've told this story before and I'll tell it again. She gave me some amazing evidence. First 2 times I see her, especially, stick in my mind. Didn't know her from Adam. And the funny thing was, the first time she come to me, give me some amazing evidence, I said to the bloke next to me, cool, she's good, isn't she? Didn't know who he was. He said, that's my missus. Anyway, for years she only charged £12. And, you know, we used to speak a lot on the phone, me and Jean. And I remember she'd phone me up and say, we'd talk, and she said, oh, got somebody coming for a reading. And she spoke about this one bloke, quite excited about it, and she was, he wouldn't tell her anything about himself, this, that and the other, and so there was a air of mystery about it. And anyway, when she finished the reading, this, that and the other, she tells me this, she rang me up on the phone and told me. She said, do you know what he tried to do? I said, what? You know, the reading went well, this, that and the other, he was pleased with it. She said he tried to give me 60 quid. I said, that's nice of him. She said, I told him no. She said, I wouldn't take it, £12, this, that and the other, and she got on her high horse, this, that and the other. All with all good intention, showing her humility and integrity, this, that and the other. And I let her go on. And eventually she realised I wasn't saying anything. She said, you ain't saying anything. I said, you won't want to hear what I've got to say, Jean. She said, why not? I said, because you won't. She said, try me. I said, I think you're a fucking hypocrite. She said, do what? I said, I think you're a hypocrite. And before she got in again, I said, it's all right for you to be all holier than thou and work with good intentions for the right reasons, this, that and the other, and only charge £12. I said, but woe betide anybody that wants to do exactly the same as you and reward you accordingly. I said, that wasn't that bloke giving you 60 quid, Jean. That was the universe sending him with that 60 quid to give to you. And she said, well, I never looked at it like that. I said, no, and for the right reason she didn't. I said, but never look a gift horse in the mouth. I said, if it's all right for you to do it, it's all right for others to do it as well. She said, I consider myself told off and told. I said, good. Beautiful soul, Jean. Beautiful soul. Sent a few girls from a Facebook group who live near to her recently. Don't know how it went. But full of integrity, this, that and the other. And again, like Barbara, we don't always agree on everything, but her and Barbara, 2 outstanding mediums. Especially when it comes to evidence, in my experience. Might not do it for you. They certainly done it for me. Both of them. But my point in talking about all this is because spiritualism and what it represents, not what it's come to represent. You know, very rare do you go into a spiritualist church now, for instance, and get spiritual healing. They call it fucking Reiki. They've rebranded it, this, that and the other, to glamorise it. You know, there's a church at Deal. They do that, and they also do what they call spirit board communication. It's a fucking Ouija board. It's not spirit board. It was always known as a Ouija board. Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. But they've, you know, repackaged it to glamorise it, this, that and the other, or to give it more credential, this, that and the other. There's nothing wrong with the Ouija board, ladies and gentlemen. What is wrong is when people who don't know what they're doing use it. That's what's wrong with a Ouija board. If you know how to control it, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I've had some brilliant communication through the Ouija board over the years, and indeed over at Deal Church. Spoke about it a few months back when my mother come through, and I was able to question her. One of the things, if you haven't listened to that broadcast, I questioned her, did you follow what I told you when you passed? She said, and she replied, yes, you made it very safe. And they said to me, the other people there round the table said, "What's she on about?" I said, "I taught her how to escape the soul trap, the reincarnation cycle. Taught her how to do it before she left here, so she wouldn't have to do it again. Not just me mother, but her, the soul." And they looked at me as if I was from another planet, because they don't fucking know. These people don't know. You talk about stuff like that, they don't know. All they know is how to make money, how to do it in such a way they control people, and those people put them on a pedestal and say, "You're fucking wonderful." I don't care who you are. And who I offend, have a fucking good look at yourself. Whether you're a medium, a truther, or whatever you're doing. Chasing a living. All you've got to do is live on this planet, on this earth, whichever shape or form you deem it to be. That's all you've got to do. Got to live. Learn what it is to live. But your masters, your owners, your controllers are getting you chasing a living. And I see little evidence coming from the spirit world to tell you in the spiritualist churches, from spiritual mediums, what I tell you here. I'm a soul man. And I'm not bragging. I'm a soul medium. Because I connect on levels. I've come to the awareness over many years that I connect on levels that go beyond the falsehood of the spirit world. Because it is all false. The spirit is false. It is a corruption and bastardization of creation itself, source consciousness, of which we on a soul journey have the ability to connect into. But no, we're too locked in the mind, the ego, and the physical at best to develop those senses beyond the physical further than the spirit world. I don't care how it manifests, how you see it. The spirit world is demonic and controlling, and it no longer controls me. If it controls you, so be it. It's, you've got to learn and become aware, as I've had to do over 40 years. And trust me, there's no quick way of doing it. But the sooner we start, whoever you are, the sooner we start, the easier it becomes. But you've got to get in control of yourself. You've got to go within the self. Go beyond the spiritual self to the true self. And now is the time. If there's ever been a time in history that I'm aware of, through all that I've studied and whatever, it's now. I've often spoke on my channel about the genocide of 100 indigenous peoples post-Columbus on the American, what we now call the American continent. And not to belittle that at all, but since COVID, and not just including COVID, the last 4 years, how many have died because of COVID, because of the genocide in Palestine, the bombing of Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, and now the American government turning on its own people, the hurricanes in Mexico the last 2 years and everything else. How many have passed in the last 4 years since COVID started? I ask you to think about that. I ask you to think. To think. Not to think as you're told, but to think. And to become self-aware, self-knowing. because that's the key. That is the key to understanding all this and freeing yourself of the bonds that control you. That is it. What suffering has gone on in the last 4 years? What suffering is going on now no, I'm not just going to say America. But what suffering is going on now in the world? Those Palestinian people. Who's helping them? Who is helping them in the way that the American people are trying to get behind each other and get past FEMA and this, that and the other? You know, those people that work for FEMA, they're American people as well. Those people that wear a police uniform, an army uniform, a navy uniform, an air force uniform, a fire uniform, a nurse's uniform, whatever uniform, one form they wear, they are one form. And they are doing the deeds of their corporate and spiritual demonic masters to the detriment of everybody else. And we allow it. We allow it. This is so true. It's clear at this point that a large portion of the population is in some kind of actual trance. Because, make no mistake, next month, the American people will come out and they'll vote for another fucking leader. They'll vote for somebody else. You know, because they don't know what it is to lead themselves. Don't matter who's leading you, you're being fucking led. Don't matter who's leading you, you're being led. Learn to lead yourself. Take responsibility for yourself. Don't give responsibility for the self away to others, because they will abuse it and manipulate it and control it for their own nefarious ends. Surely you can see that. If you didn't see it over COVID, surely you can see what's happening to the American people. It's all a big land grab. They want them off so they can have that lithium deposits. Oh, and some of you think Elon Musk is wonderful because of what he's doing to out those people. It's all a shit show. Stop observing it and absorbing it. Observe it for clarity. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. I'm still, as you might be able to gather, as I've said recently, angry. I'm not angry at what's being done. I'm angry at what we allow to be done. That's what I'm angry at. Not at what's being done, but what we allow to be done. And that's why I say, it's not Bill Gates' fault or Klaus Schwab's, this, that and the other. They're probably in their bunkers now underground and, you know, and whatever, because there's going to be more to come. More to come. And they're underground, you know, and they've got their supply of kids. They can bugger and fucking slit their throats and have their adrenochrome-fueled blood, keep them all pumped up and whatever, and looking youthful and everything else it does for them. Don't worry about that. It's not you. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the suffering of others. I'm all right, Jack. It will be you. It's going to be you. You cannot escape it. You cannot escape it. Throw away your TVs, I keep telling you. Throw away your smartphones. Just in a video today where, you know, Australia is going cashless. Can you not see in your towns and cities that the banks that used to be there are there no more? Do you not understand why that is? Because there will be no need for cash. It's going to be all digital. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. I've just been listening, when I was out this morning, listening to Radio Kent, talking about, these new exit and entry procedures that are going on, especially across any borders, but what the EU are mainly bringing in. And a bloke representing the freight industry was saying lorry drivers will only be able to go abroad for 90 days out of 180, and then they have to come back. Think of all the implications of that. Right? Think of all because the EU do not class lorry drivers as professionals, apparently. Oh dear. But think about it on your level. My sister and her husband are away in Spain at the moment. They go away for 3 months, come back for 3 months, worked hard all their life, and they're living off the bounty of that. Grafted and worked hard all their life. Right? And he particularly hates it because they have to go away for 3 months and then they must come back for 3 months because we left the EU. See, he's only thinking about himself, and that's what we all do. We think about ourselves. Well, if you don't like them restrictions, whatever, because these invisible lines that you have to cross to go from one part of the earth to another, you never put them there. You never put them borders there. Your masters did. Your corporate masters did, to control those within it and to expel those out of it. But yes, they're not that effective, are they? Because of the people coming across them borders from South America to North America, from France to the UK. The UK at one point didn't have any people on it. It was called Albion. The earliest name I've ever come across for the UK was Albion. And it refers to what was seen of this land, just the white chalk, right? Everybody that's come to this land and populated this land come from somewhere else. It's the same for every other country in Europe and the world. This, that and the other. They all come from somewhere else. The only people that didn't come from somewhere else are those that were born, their ancestors were born, and they've none of their ancestors, and they have ever left Africa. That's the only place. Some of their ancestors did leave Africa and went throughout the world over thousands and thousands of years, and some of them ended up in Britain and what we now call Britain. Same with America, this, that and the other. We all come from somewhere else. We might be born where we live, but if you trace it back far enough, your ancestors come from somewhere else. And we all come from somewhere else. And then somebody along the way divided the lands up to separate us from our relations, our connections. And we swallow it. We swallow it. If it bothers you about having borders, this, that and the other, and being separated, if it bothers you what your government are doing, then stand up, rise up, and bring the fucking lot of them down. In your own countries, what you perceive of your own countries, but I'm on about across the earth. The non-governmental organisations, eradicate them. And wherever you are, make the change, start with common law, And if we can improve on common law in accordance with natural law and universal law, then by all means, let's do it. But let's get rid of all these fucking acts and statutes that control us no matter where you are, and stand in common law. Cause no harm, cause no loss, cause no injury. The world is our oyster. Let's all equally profit from the abundance of it by simply knowing what it is to live and no more. Like those nomadic Native American people used to do. They would move around, be nomadic, so they didn't exhaust the resources around them at any one point. And when they went to somewhere else, they would take only what they needed off the trees, from the buffalo, this, that, and the other, the elk and the rabbits and whatever else, and then they would move on again. So it had chance to re-establish itself and whatever. Whatever they took, they only took for their needs and left some for the next man. We don't do that. We don't do that anymore. All those values and principles of how our ancestors used to live have long gone. Long gone. And so, as I said in my last upload, we're reaping what we sow. Through our fear and our ignorance and our compliance, but mostly through our greed, we're reaping what we sow. But we can change it all. We can change it, but first we've got to change ourselves and the way we see things. If we change how we see ourselves, we can change how we see things. And we can see things as they really are. But first, we've got to change ourselves. And I can't see any other reason. I can't see a reason, rather, to not do that. We are now in this point in history where so much hatred and vitriol and carnage is going on. If that ain't enough to get you, to awaken you up, I don't know what is. I don't know what will do it. The carnage that is going on in this world now, as we speak, should be enough to make you sit up and take notice. And if it isn't, then I really don't know what the answer is. I really do not know what the answer is. But I'll keep looking for it. I'll keep looking for it. And I'll keep talking about what I think it is. Please or offend, I'll keep talking about it here on my channel. Do me a favour, because one thing that drives me absolutely freaking mad, as soon as I've done an upload, I'll start posting it around. And this one, look, it's 44 minutes at the moment. And I make no apologies for it, because, you know, I've got something to say, and, you know, I say it to inspire, empower, enlighten and enable you. But no matter where I do it, on Facebook, in my Facebook group, or on MeWe, as soon as I've posted it, bang, 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 people are putting thumbs up or a heart, this, that and that. They haven't listened to it. Why do people do that? I'll never be able to understand that, all the while I've got a hole in my arse. Why people do that. As soon as you put it up, as if to say, oh, they want you to know, oh, I've watched that. Well, no, you bloody haven't, because it's 40-odd minutes, and I've only just put it up. And, you know, very few comments come back. On them social media platforms, Facebook especially, and MeWe, very few people put a comment underneath. A few of them do, but very, very few in relation. And, you know, to me, I'm thinking about all these things. Even if they said, oh, that's a load of bollocks. At least I know they've listened to it all. Or like to think they've listened to it all and they don't agree with it. But as soon as you put it up, ping! There's a bloody emoji there, thumbs up or whatever. The mentality of these people is beyond me. Really beyond me. But there you go. You pissed a lot of people off. What did you do? Told them the fucking truth. Especially those in the spiritualist movement. Because that spiritualist movement has given me so much. And when I see it abused, in the way that I see it abused, when I see people within it with certain gifts and abilities, abusing them to harness the energy, frequency and vibration of others, I'll fucking call them out. I'll call them out. I don't care, you know, who they are. They're fucking hypocrites. Read about the history of spiritualism because it offers us so much. The pioneers of the movement, the Arthur Finleys of this world, the Grace Cooks, some of the wonderful, wonderful physical mediums of the past. Florrie Cook, look up her, and Sir William Cooks, I've said that before. Jack Webber, Alec Douglas Home, Helen Duncan, only 70 years ago she was in prison, you know, for allowing a disincarnate entity to come through to tell people that yes, he passed in the war, but he was all right. She got banged up for that under the Witchcraft Act of 1700s or so, which, as I've said in recent uploads, was repealed after her trial, and it brought in the Fraudulent Mediums Act, which replaced it. But there you go. You know, test the spirits to see if they are of good. Don't care who they are. The number of times I've spoken in a spiritualist church, Deal especially, and they've stood on the platform, and when I've raised the point, well, these people ain't ready for that yet. That church has been going longer than I've been there, and so have many other churches. Why are the people not ready for it? Because you don't fucking know it to start with, or if you do, you're not telling them because you like the coin that your knowledge brings you. I'm free of that. I'm free of all that. I don't want your coin. I want you to be free. That's the difference between me and all these fucking egotistical mutton dressed up as lamb, this, that and the other. You know, but, you know, if you're stupid enough to swallow their shit without questioning it, then they're going to keep doing it and you can't blame them. The same as if we're going to keep swallowing the shit that Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab and everybody else keeps giving us, Keir Starmer, this, that and the other. They're going to keep doing it. It's only when we stand up and rise up against it because we know it's wrong that we'll ever make a difference. We'll ever change it. I'd love to be part of mankind that brings down the government in my own country and all its agencies, and we can start again with a council of representative people using common law as our foundation. And we should be doing that as mankind in every country in the world, and bringing the world together as one earth, and doing away with the borders that separate us physically, mentally, emotionally and spiritually, because we've awakened to the true self on a conscious level. Think about what I've said. Think about where you shop. Think about if you shop with money. If you're going to use this money, then use it wisely. Stop shopping on fucking Amazon and telling me you're awake. Stop selling your books, about the truth and this, that and the other on Amazon. Show some fucking integrity. Because by their deeds you will know them. Integrity is about as short on this planet as common sense is. We got to change that, and it starts with us. Palamia, thank you. In Lakesh, in UIC Anatomy, Mitahui Oyasin, we are all related, we're all relatives. I tell you, we're all connected. Share the message. Don't share me, share the message. I own the message. And if somebody wants to come at me over it, then fucking do so. I'll own it. Because I stand for truth. With awareness, in integrity, in humility, and I stand with universal law, Alawari, common natural law, Alawari, and I stand in common law, LAW. If you don't, you'll have a battle with me, and you won't fucking win it.